Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be taking a look at the future battleground and swing states in the 2028 presidential election because there will be some new battleground states in the 2028 presidential election, and from 2024 there are some battleground states that will no longer be considered battleground states in the 2028 election, probably moving towards the likely or even solid red or solid blue column for either side. But there are a few swing states that will be happening in 2028 that were not considered swing states this time around in the 2024 election. But because they were closer than expected in this election, they can possibly be swing in 2028 in future elections as well, including the 2026 midterms as well. But before we get started with the future battleground state map for 2028, make sure you guys are subscribed, click the bell so you don't miss all my content, press the like button, share this video, don't forget we have memberships. You can find links that in the description section. So for 2028, let's begin with the likely states, and then we'll move on to the toss-up swing states and battleground, whatever you want to call it. So I think in 2028 or any future election, New York will no longer be solid for Democrats at all, no matter who the candidate is, whether it's what is it, Shapiro, Gavin Newsom, Gretchen Whitmer. It doesn't really matter. New York is just simply no longer solid Democrat. It is now likely, but I am not confident enough to consider New York a battleground state just yet. It will not be in 2028. I want to make it clear. It being likely does not necessarily mean it's going to be a competitive swing or battleground state. Likely is about 10 percentage points for my margins, which is exactly how Kamala won it by in the 2024 presidential election, by about 10 or 11 percentage points or so, which is considered a likely margin. So in 2028, I expect New York to shift towards the right. Just 4 years ago, Biden had won it by 23, and then it saw roughly a 13-point swing shift in favor to the right in this election. It went from 23% Democrat in 2020 to just 10% Democrat in the 2024 election. So in terms of the swings and the trends, it goes in favor of Republicans. In 2028, New York will no longer be solid blue. Now, it doesn't mean it's going to be too competitive to consider it a swing state. That's not going to happen. But I think it will be likely Democrat by probably low double digits to possibly low single digits of around maybe 9, 10, 11, or 12 percentage points for 2028. And then I think Iowa is no longer likely column for Republicans. I think Iowa is now safe. I expect any Republican, no matter who is on the ticket, whether it's the weakest Republican candidate or the strongest, Iowa will forever in 2028 be solid red by double digits for the GOP, over 10 percentage points. Same exact thing goes for Ohio. In 2028, Ohio is no longer likely Republican. It is now solid red. I think this state has just gone too far to the right. Same thing in Iowa as well. And then we have Florida. I think Florida, you can make the case that it will be solid Republican in 2028, but I'm just going to play it safe here. I'm going to be nice, and I'm going to characterize it likely instead of solid red. Donald Trump's, obviously, it's his own home state here, so it was no surprise that he won it by a margin. He did by a solid, safe margin of 13 percentage points. So because it was his home state, I'm not going to consider it safe for Republicans, but definitely in the future, it will be that way. And in 2028, I don't think Florida is going to be competitive at all, no matter who is on the ticket on the Democrat or Republican side. It's just not going to be close. It's not swing at all, so it's likely. In Texas, Democrats have been hoping to flip this state or make it competitive. It was not even close at all in this election. Ted Cruz won it by about 8.5 percentage points. Donald Trump won it by the same margin he won Florida by, 13%. It was solid red for Donald Trump and likely for Ted Cruz in this election. Now, 2028 is going to be a little bit different, but it's not going to be competitive. So, therefore, Texas will be likely for Republicans in the 2028 presidential election. And then you have Colorado. I don't think it's going to be likely Democrat anymore. In 2028, it's going to be safe. I think Colorado will be solid blue for the Democratic Party in the 2028 presidential election. This state keeps getting bluer. It's trending towards the left, and a less favorable year for Democrats, more favorable for Donald Trump. Kamala still managed to get double digits in the state of Colorado. It was not even close at all. New Mexico was far more competitive, even though that still was likely for Kamala. She won it by 6 percentage points. So in 2028, Colorado will not be a swing state, not be a battleground. It's not going to be competitive, no matter who is on the ticket on both parties. It's not going to matter. It will be safe Democrat, in my opinion. New Mexico will be likely Democrat in the 2028 presidential election. It will remain that way, as it was likely in this election as well, and in 2020, 2016. So New Mexico is not really going to change at all. But what will change is Colorado. It's going to get even more bluer further to the left. So New Mexico will remain likely. Nothing's really going to change in that state. And then we will be moving on to the real battleground states. So I will be filling them highlighted in yellow, toss-up, starting off with Illinois. Illinois is a new swing state in 2028. It was not seen or supposed to be. No one expected it to be competitive at all in this election for 2024. But guess what? Kamala Harris, guys, only won Illinois by a margin of 8 percentage points. That's single digits. I didn't even expect Kamala to only win it by single digits. Biden won it 4 years ago by 19 percentage points. But in 2028, you take a look at the shifts, the trends. A lot of these counties are trending towards the right. Therefore, I think in 2028 or future elections as well, Illinois could potentially be competitive. Now, in a worst case scenario for Republicans, it's going to be likely. But if they're really lucky, it's going to be, I would say, battleground, toss-up, swing state, whatever you want to call it. And even New York, like I mentioned earlier, guys, only went to Kamala by 10 percentage points. So in 2028, I think Illinois will be a new toss-up state that was not originally in 2024. Same thing goes for New Jersey. New Jersey, guys, was not solid blue for Kamala this time around, as I thought it would be. Not even likely. New Jersey was not even likely. It was lean, even worse. New Jersey was lean Democrat for Kamala Harris. She ended up winning the state by just about 5 percentage points. That is disastrous for any Democratic candidate. And you can make the case that Kamala was just a bad candidate in general, but still, the fact that Hillary Clinton won it by 12 points, that was way more than Kamala Harris. So Hillary Clinton performed 7% better in the state of New Jersey than Kamala Harris did. Harris performed worse than Hillary. So I think just in general, New Jersey is shifting towards the right, and in 2028, it is no longer solid blue for Democrats. You could make the case it won't even be likely. It could be lean once again, just how it was in 2024. So New Jersey for 2028 will be a new toss-up state or battleground, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. Let me know if you agree with that in the comment section down below. And then we have New Hampshire, which obviously the state is always considered a battleground state. I think it will be once again in 2020. It will remain a toss-up state. Not too shocking, but I do want to say that New Hampshire, in my opinion, if it were to trend either way, in either direction, I would say it is getting bluer. It has a lot of college-educated voters, and that group really pans out well for Democrats. So I do think even though New Hampshire is shifting towards the left, it is still going to be a battleground state in 2028 or any recent future elections as well. And then we have Nevada. This state is always considered a battleground state. I think that won't change. It's going to be very swingy. I think Democrats can still win it on the general election level. Same thing goes for Republicans. Arizona will remain a toss-up state. I think in terms of the future, it is getting bluer, but Donald Trump had an outstanding victory. I underestimated him. I had him winning it by just 2.5%. He actually ended up winning Arizona by 6 percentage points, a likely margin. It was not even lean. So you can make the case that Donald Trump's victory being so great in Arizona, maybe it's shifting towards the right, but not really. If you take a look at any down ballot races, Arizona is pretty Democrat. It's pretty blue, and in the future, I expect Arizona to be a very blue state. They have a Democratic governor in control. They just elected a Democratic senator. They have 2 Democratic senators, not 1. So I do think, in terms of the shifts and the trends, Arizona will be more bluer in 2028. But in terms of this election, it was vastly different. Kamala was extremely unpopular, and that's why it looked like Donald Trump won it by a great amount, as much as he did. So Arizona will remain toss-up. It will not change. But I think the main takeaways in terms of the new battleground states in 2020 that were not considered competitive in this election, but ended up being surprisingly competitive, will be Illinois, New Jersey, and New York. Those will be the 3 new battleground states of 2028. New Jersey, Illinois, and New York possibly as well. And then as far as Minnesota goes, I think this state obviously is always considered a battleground state. It will remain that way. It's not going to get any redder or any bluer. I think it's just going to stay where it's at for the next 4 years up until 2028. Wisconsin obviously will remain a battleground state. Michigan will remain competitive. Pennsylvania will not change at all. It's going to stay where it's at. a lot of people are saying it's going to trend towards the right, maybe possibly, but still, by like 1 to 2 points is not going to be enough to consider it at all likely Republican. Pennsylvania will remain toss-up in 2028. Virginia, I think, will be likely Democrat. I think the state in general is actually shifting towards the left. I mean, in 2024, Republicans kept hoping and they were very confident, even Donald Trump was, that they can possibly flip the state. And even the governor, Glenn Youngkin, was really hoping Trump can upset Kamala. But guess what? She actually won it by a likely margin of like over 5.5 percentage points. I underestimated Kamala in Virginia. I thought she only win it by like 4%. She ended up winning it by over 5.5 percentage points. So Republicans were supposed to do better in Virginia in this election, but Kamala still ended up winning it by a greater margin than she did in New Jersey, which is also surprising. New Jersey actually voted to the right of Virginia, which no one expected that as well. So in 2028, I expect Virginia to shift further to the left. It will be likely Democrat. And then we have two more states before we end off this video, Georgia and North Carolina. I think both of those will remain toss-up as they always are. North Carolina and Georgia are the typical battleground states for like the past, 2 decades now? 2016, 2020, 2024, 2012, Georgia and North Carolina were always battleground states, and it will remain that way in 2028. It's not going to shift too far to the left or too far to the right to consider it no longer swing. They will remain battleground competitive in 2028. So there you guys go. This is my prediction on how the battleground map would look like in 2028 for the future elections. The states highlighted in yellow will be considered the swing states in 2020, in my opinion. So let me know which states you agree with or disagree with in the comment section down below. So I would say my hot takes is Illinois, New Jersey, and New York will be competitive battleground in 2028 that were not seen as that way in 2024, but surprisingly ended up being competitive. Those are the 3 surprise states that will be swing in 2028. That's my hot take. Those 3 states, New Jersey, Illinois, and New York, the main takeaway in this video. So that's pretty much it. Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. And that actually concludes 140 electoral votes that are considered toss-up in the next presidential election. One last final reminder to subscribe, click the bell so you don't miss on my content. Press the like button, share this video, don't forget we have memberships. You can find links to that in the description section if you are interested. Thank you everyone for watching.